plant-based technology, I don't know whether, like, if you go to those old school vegetarian shops and everything, and then you get the mock meat.
Oh yeah.
That's plant-based technology also in a way, because it's everything's soy, but everything's like, I don't know, it's so processed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that I think that's kind of an old school technology where they were just trying to emulate as much as they could meat without thinking about the nutritional consequences of creating something so processed.
Yeah. I remember I went to an Indian rice place one time, banana leaf, right? And I said, I tried being vegetarian for, I think, all of maybe a couple of weeks, right? And I ordered their vegetarian set. Then he asked me, you want mutton or you want whatever else, right? I'm like, no, I want vegetarian. Yeah. But you want mock mutton? I'm like, okay, let me try the mutton. And he came over and I tasted it. I'm like, dude, this thing really tastes like mutton. And I'm like, what the hell? I don't know how I feel about it because the texture, everything actually tastes like meat. So that's another thing I'm wondering about, because if I'm doing this and I don't want to, because I'm thinking about animal cruelty and whatnot, right? And then I'm thinking I'm eating meat. I don't know how I feel about it. Is it like, is there like a little bit of a conflict in your mind whenever you eat something like this?
I guess it depends on what your purpose is for going plant-based. I think if you're doing it for cruelty, for the sake of reducing suffering, then I don't see any harm in eating mock meat. If it's something that if you want to keep the taste and textures of what your diet has without any compromise on, what kind of lives are compromised by getting the food on your plate, then I don't see any harm in it. But I mean, it's to each their own. Some people would not stand for that at all. Some people are cool with it. So like, yeah, it's really subjective. For me, it's like, I would try it once in a blue moon for novelty's sake, but I won't go out of my way to always seek the taste and texture of meat. Yes, no. Like I've always preferred the texture and the taste of vegetables. In fact, when I was a kid, I remember whenever my mom would pack us lunch, and now I think about it, my mom was a freaking superhero. She would make lunches for 4 kids every single day.
Wow.
For us throughout until we were done with our O-levels. And I think about it like, oh my God, I can't even do that for myself when I'm a grown-up for one person. So I remember whenever she packed something with, no, she never made anything vegetarian. So whenever I brought my lunch to school, if there was any way I could take out the pieces of meat, like if there was a fried rice with pieces of meat in it, I'll be like, and then I would eat all the bits of meat first, because those are the bits I like the least. You
got to get it done and over with, right?
Yeah. And then I'd have this like pseudo vegetarian meal, and I'm like, now I can have my lunch.
Right.
So I wasn't your average kid.
I suppose most other people will go, hey, char siu, I'll leave that for the last.
Yeah.
Because I want to enjoy that the most.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, you are what you eat, I suppose. And if you felt like you enjoyed vegetables a lot more back in the day anyway, but I suppose for a lot of people who like thoroughly love meat and then they watch the video, what Earthlings, right? I wonder how they would feel about eating meat after that. Let's just say they do go vegan, and then do they have withdrawals in a way? Like, oh my God, I need meat so badly. I wonder if they ever have that.
Well, it's different experiences for each person. Some people do it really impulsively, that they don't prepare themselves for consequences and withdrawal symptoms and stuff. So the fallout rate is actually I think about at least 80% drop out.
Fallout?
When they try and go. Yeah, they fall out of it because they don't know what they're getting themselves into.
They go into it because it's a fad in a way?
Not really a fad, but some people I feel they're made of that. They know that they have the metal to go the full cold turkey and never turn back. Yeah. But most of us aren't like that. So when a lot of people try going vegan because they get suddenly moved, you don't know how, like they go into it without taking into consideration the attachments we have, the emotional attachments we have to meat, the physical attachments that we have to meat. We're definitely going to be experiencing transitional changes. We don't have the enzymes to digest a totally different diet that you're not used to. So that's going to bring about like uncomfortable physical sensations, like, diarrhea, nausea, bloating,
Do you go through that really when you first?
I mean,
get into it?
each person has their own experiences. So if you're not well read into what to expect, then some people will just figure, wow, I tried, but I guess it's not for me. But actually, it's just a matter of what I feel the best approach is really taking your time.
Yeah.
So I had, my journey would span like 12 years. I stopped eating beef the moment I wanted to go. Like, remember I was telling you that I had these 12 years of educating myself?
Yeah.
The one compromise I managed to make with my parents was, okay, Davina's not going to eat any more beef or lamb or mutton.
Right.
So those 12 years, I was dropping off the meats one by one in terms of how big the animal was. So like all the four-legged ones were off first, and then the chicken, and then the seafood. So by the time I went vegetarian, I was pescatarian. And by the time I was going vegan, I'm lactose intolerant anyway. Mm-hmm. So I had all the time in the world to transition, and I didn't feel any kind of like everything was so seamless.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, if you were to, how could I put this? Like, if you were to properly define veganism, that means no milk, no eggs, no meat, no
honey,
even honey.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong? Oh, cause
bees.
You farm bees in a way.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's an animal byproduct.
What do you drink right now? Do you drink like almond milk? Do you drink all other kinds of milk?
Yeah. So up until MCO, I wasn't making my own milk at all. I was just buying milk, like the regular cheap soy milk that you get from the supermarket. But MCO, you get a bit more resourceful because you don't have that much budget to buy all the imported plant milk. So started making my own soy milk, and now I'm into making nut milk. So yeah, any kind of milk, I have it already. For example, the easiest milk I've learned to make since last August, I learned from a plant-based chef, is literally taking a couple of tablespoons of rolled oats.
Okay.
Blending it in water for 20 seconds, straining it, and then you have oat milk.
Really?
Yeah.
Just from the rolled oats that you can buy off the shelf.
Yeah. It was like, oh my God, where has this been my whole life?
Interesting. All right. So so it's you're not like, oh, I'm not gonna drink any other kinds of milk because I can't get it anymore. So, but you still get your little. Because in my mind, I'm thinking like I always want something creamy in my mouth in a way sometimes. So that at least is still there, right?
Yeah.
But there are a lot of misconceptions about veganism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like veganism is not vegetarianism, obviously, right? So what's the real difference?
Yeah, so vegetarianism is more of a diet, but veganism is more of a lifestyle. So a vegetarian could just abstain from eating meat, but they could still, some would still wear leather, some would still use beauty products that are not cruelty free. And they won't. I think they won't be so. They just won't be so particular with the choices they make in their daily consumer lives. But veganism is a little bit. It's more all encompassing.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. It's a way of life. Yeah.
Now, another misconception that a lot of that crops up, and I've actually seen it in print in everywhere. Basically, vegans don't get enough nutrition. Which is why I watched when I watched Game Changer, it was like so mind blowing for me, right? So for someone who's been doing this for many years now, vegans they're scrawny and then they're very malnourished and they can't build muscle. True or false?
False. Well, it depends. If you don't do it the right way, then there's like any other diet. Like if you don't do it the right way, if you don't do your homework, it's anyone who doesn't do their homework with nutrition and eating the right stuff, whatever their diet is not going to be good news. So there are people who do it for ethical reasons without doing the background research on what their body actually needs. And everybody, regardless of their diet, deserves that kind of knowledge. And you can easily get scrawny, or you can easily get overweight because potato chips and and
Exactly.
soda is vegan too.
Because technically, I could go on a diet that's
You could.
beer and potato chips.
You could.
And I'd be technically, I'm vegetarian and vegan already, right?
Yeah. However, there are some beers and some wines that are not considered vegan because of the filtration process that involves some kind of animal product.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, I'm gonna talk to you more about this because I love beer, right? So I'm like, that's my thing right now. Okay, so we talked a little bit about this earlier. So you can't drink milk, or you don't drink milk. I think I got to stop using the word "can't" because
I drink plant-based milk.
Do you get enough calcium from that though? Where do you get the calcium from?
Calcium comes from
building bones. You need calcium.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to address this myth about milk. So there was a study that came out in from Harvard some years back, and it studied a group of women who, I can't remember that there was like a control group, and I don't really know. I didn't do. Yeah, I did statistics. Oh, what was it? I did psychology so long ago, but I can't really remember how to explain it properly. But yeah, it showed that a group of women who drank milk regularly had higher chances of hip fractures than those who didn't drink milk. And
what? Really?
And yeah, so the link was that the animal protein in milk is acidic, and acidity draws out calcium from your bones to neutralize it in your body.
Right. So basically, we've been fed lies. Drink more milk so you get more calcium to build healthy bones. So for women, you don't get osteoporosis, but really drinking milk is the one that's actually causing it.
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, you got to be careful with the kind of information you absorb and where you get it from, because the industry is powerful, man.
Okay. So where do you get your calcium from then?
So I get my calcium from everything, I guess. Vegetables, sesame seeds are very high in calcium. Dark green leafy vegetables are very good for you, and we have that abundantly in Malaysia. Yeah. I take as well blackstrap molasses. Mm-hmm. That's very high in calcium, magnesium, and iron. So I take that especially around my period. Right. To supplement myself. Okay. Well, I think when you follow a whole foods plant-based diet, your nutrients are pretty well covered across the board. Right.
Do you ever take like supplements then? Can you take supplements? Are those vegan friendly?
You can. Well, you have to be careful though, because you know how some capsules are made of gelatin.
Actually, that's gelatin. Right. Yeah. No, they actually have like a little label that says it's a vegan friendly and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So like I've been taking B complex and whatever it is right now. So like B12, where do you where do you get your B12 from?
I get you can get B12 from fortified products. Like I don't take the fortified cereals, but anything fermented naturally has B12 because the bacteria that's thriving in it. Kimchi is high in B12, tempeh, miso. So I'm a healing diet student under the School of Natural Medicine right now. Right. And I'm learning how to create a raw living foods kitchen, and I'm fermenting all sorts of stuff in here. And I've noticed that since I've been trying out my assignments in my healing diet stuff, which includes a lot of fermented stuff, I've noticed that my nails have gotten better.
Nice.
Yeah. So it really, I didn't realize that your body is an amazing machine. Thing it's an amazing machine, and it tells you what it needs so easily.
Like you can abuse it by the stuff that you put in for so long, but if you get onto a regimented kind of like, in your case it took many years, but now you're seeing the benefits of it, right? Because you're cleaning up your system in a way.
Well, I find that everybody is on the food journey, but it's all subjective, right? So I feel like I'm still learning about my body. Like before I went vegetarian, I didn't know that my body could get any healthier until I went vegetarian. And then all these amazing health benefits popped up. Like I stopped falling asleep at work. I stopped falling sick so often. I had enough energy to run every morning, which didn't happen before. And the only thing I changed was my diet. And then when I went vegan, I didn't think that my body could get any healthier. And then I got more stamina to do marathons and swimathons and all all that stuff. And now as a healing diet student, I thought that veganism is the be all and end all of health, but no, there's so much more ways that you can be healthier. So it's an ongoing journey. And I think for some people who feel like, I don't think I can go vegan, or I don't even think I can reduce my meat because of this, that. And then I tell them, hey, I didn't think about going raw food, raw living foods up until last year. And, and you always surprise yourself when you start exploring things that are uncomfortable. So that's why I feel wherever journey or wherever step on your food journey you're on, it's always relatable.
Let's get to more misconceptions.
Oh,
true or false? Vegan diet is restrictive, not a lot of choices. True or false?
Yeah, false.
And you can only buy it in the atas.
No.
Is that true?
Yeah. No, that's one of the biggest reasons why my advocacy work as a plant-based lifestyle advocate went more towards reestablishing the Malaysian narrative of what it means to be plant-based, because I think it's a practice that we have long forgotten. Like I speak to so many of my Malay friends, and they were saying, "Oh, my nenek would eat mostly plant-based."
Ulam, exactly, and, right?
Yeah, ulam, and they would only have like the occasional fish or chicken if they could afford it or if they had it. Otherwise, like most of the time, people were plant-based. And I find that Malaysia is a place that Malaysians really take for granted in terms of local fresh produce. We have a plethora of all sorts of superfoods that is not kale and not quinoa and not avocado. We've got the whole range of ulam. We've got like all sorts of amazing jungle produce, exotic fruit, exotic herbs, and it's being so underappreciated. And if anything, being a vegan has really opened my eyes to what is really out there. Like I haven't been such a huge foodie as I am as a vegan. It's really amazing. And once you start exploring, I think when you're a vegan, you shut one door, but then you open up a whole door of like this totally foreign but exciting spectrum of the plant kingdom and what it offers. Something that you would have never bothered to even have a peek into if you're comfortable eating your chicken, your fish, your red beets and stuff. So when you start exploring, like I haven't stopped exploring, and I'm in my 6th year. I don't think it's ever going to stop. So it's really exciting to find new and exciting produce and new and exciting ways of preparing it to make it tasty and affordable and accessible.
Right. So it's not restrictive. In fact, there's a lot of choice, and it's not. If you want the atas expensive ones, you can, but you don't always have to. Like,
no. Yeah. I mean, you can stock up with your vegan mayo and your vegan cheese, but is that even healthy? You can stock up your whole plant. I can have a whole fridge of plant-based meats, but to me, that's not what the plant-based lifestyle is about, and it's not what veganism is about either for me.
All right, now speaking of plants, right? Here's a big one though. Plants have feelings also. Oh, that's the one that everybody always feels like vegans, right?
Yeah. So where I come from, there are studies that have shown that plants have this show responses when they are under threat. But I think the thing that sets animals apart from plants is a sentience, right? So animals feel pain, they feel torment, they feel despair, they feel sadness. Plants, when they respond to threats, it's more of just a stimuli response. Like how if someone calls my phone rings. That's what it does. Like that's basically like, okay, this is happening, this is how I respond. I press a doorbell, the bell's gonna ring.
Right.
It's more of like that. There is no cognitive processing of pain and sadness and suffering, which is what sentient beings have. So that is where the difference lies. And for me, it's not about canceling out suffering altogether, because it's an imperfect world. Whatever we do in our life as human beings, it's going to cause suffering somewhere else. So it's more about the minimizing of suffering.
Yeah.
Just do your best, lah.
Here's a big one though. Okay. Too much soy is not good for you. And I've read this as well, and I was like, wow, actually, it's true. This is more so for men also in many cases because of the estrogen levels and everything. Or then you grow man boobs and stuff like this. What do you say to that?
well, too much of anything is bad for you.
That's true. Yeah.
So from my research, I've learned that the estrogen in soy is a phytoestrogen. It's a plant-based estrogen, and it's actually 1,000 times weaker than human estrogen. If anything, people should be wary of the estrogen they're ingesting when they eat meat, because that has been pumped into the meat, right? Into the animals as hormones.
Right.
So if anything, there's a bigger threat of you getting man boobs eating meat than you are eating soy. But
that's what's happening to me.
About man boobs, I was curious about it as well. I could only find one medical case after hours of searching, one medical case of a guy getting man boobs from soy.
Too much soy.
But he was drinking 3 liters a day.
Oh wow.
So
what? I don't drink 3 liters of anything. What?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I don't even drink that in water.
I know, right?
I mean, like, so you really gotta push it to try and get those.
And you must really love soy.
You must really love soy, yeah. Like I love soy, but I don't love it that much.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So everything in moderation. And as
Actually,
long as
true.
And as long as you have a healthy thyroid, I think that you can have soy in moderation with everything else.
Right. Because there's so many studies on soy because there's so many vegetarians now, there's so many vegans that soy plantations and farming has increased, and it's opening up all this land that is just as bad as having land for animals. They would have been free running and everything. So they always say soy cultivation and farming is also not good for the environment. Any thoughts on that?
I'm trying to remember the stats. If I'm not mistaken, over 80% of the world's soy is fed to animals for us to eat.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right,
so most of it is not even going to us. It's to support the animal farming industry.
So that's another vicious cycle, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So people would think that, soy is a big culprit, but like you don't know where the soy is going to, because the animals have to eat too, and they're being fed the cheapest thing on the planet, which is soy. The corn and all that stuff. So we're actually clearing out. I think we are using about a third of the world's arable land to grow animals. But the food that we create out of this third of arable land is feeding only 15% of the world's dietary needs. So it's not a really efficient system.
Right. Okay. Huge misconception there then. All right. And this is going to be iffy for you because humans have been eating animals since the beginning. Why change now? That's what people say, right?
Yeah. Well, we have been eating it for so many years, but we didn't consume animals at the rate that we used to, and we didn't raise animals at the way that we do now. So it's more of like an ethics thing. Now we're raising animals to double their size in a fraction of the time. We're packing all of them into, factory farms, barely they don't have any
horrible
space
conditions.
Horrible conditions. It's just like a cesspool of disease and suffering and violence and everything. And I think if now we live in really amazing times where we have the option to not eat that stuff. So why not? So it's more of like, we did used to hunt our own food. Do most people who love their meat, are they able to bring themselves to kill their own food? Correct.
Yes.
Don't know.
Exactly. Because back in the day, if you wanted food, the most efficient way was men will go to hunt.
Yeah.
And then the women will tend to a small farm at home and everything. That's how it was. But then you're right. Now we have so many other options. Just walk to a freaking supermarket. You can eat whatever you want, right?
Exactly. And there's a huge disconnect about where food comes from. Like meat just doesn't fall from the sky. People have forgotten the farm to table concept.
Yeah.
They don't know how long it takes. I mean, this is for vegans included. People have forgotten how to grow food. They don't know. They don't have any connection with the earth and the soil.
Yeah. No, it's like, where do you get food? The supermarket. Actually, somebody needed to plant it, or somebody needed to forage for it and everything, right?
Correct. Yeah. Somebody needed to kill that for you.
Okay. Here's a big one. Misconception. True or false? And in a way, I think you're gonna say it's kind of true also. Right. So vegans, and I'm not saying you, Davina, okay? Vegans are weird hippie type people who are too judgmental.
Am I a hippie type of person?
No, you're not. I'm not saying all. I'm not saying all.
Okay,
but generally, that's what people say about vegans.
Well, for me, being a vegan is like me making an active choice to contribute to a world that I want to live in, right? Living in a world of compassion, of peace, of health for everybody. So people who think that vegans are weird, but they're drinking titty milk from cows, meant for baby cows, eating chicken periods. And I mean, now I'm using like proper vegan language, but it really helps to put things in perspective, because I'm seeing like people who think that vegans are weird, are eating, are eating food that promotes violence, that promotes suffering, that promotes rape, that promotes climate change, that promotes deforestation and loss of habitat and global warming and a whole slew of modern day diseases like cancer and obesity and heart disease and what have you. Like, and they don't think it being weird. Like, the only reason I think people think that vegans are weird is because we're the minority for now. And minority makes us the outsider. And the reason why people haven't jumped on it is because they're terrified of change. And it's totally understandable. People like comfort. We're creatures of comfort. Our meat eating culture is ingrained from generations and generations of us doing just that. But times have changed. And, like the rate that we're eating meat is just not sustainable anymore. And it's not ethical. And it doesn't support our quality of life. So I think when people start to lean into the discomfort of, okay, I think what I'm doing can afford to be I think I can afford to put more power of a vote into what I eat every single day. I think once people start acknowledging that they have that power and practicing that power, I think it will no longer be weird. It will just be the norm. So that's what
Are you on a mission though to change the world, everyone to be vegan?
No, I don't think there's like, if any vegan who decides that is digging themselves a hole.
Because, and I've met them before, I've met some vegans.
I'm so sorry. On behalf of the vegans, I'm so sorry.
No, exactly. And there's nothing to be sorry for, because I know for a fact that there are also others who are meat eaters. And these are like the people who probably, in a way, they jump on bandwagons very easily, right? They get onto something and I'm like, they could just as well be, oh my God, how can you not be a Taylor Swift fan? I'm going to change you and I want you to be a Taylor Swift fan or be a Beyonce fan. Very much the same way as like they'll go to...
Stan culture. Get into this.
Exactly. How can you not be vegan? Do you know how everything you say, it's a crusade for them to just pounce on you. There are people who are like that, though, unfortunately. And they give a really bad name to other vegans.
Yeah. I think it doesn't need to be said, because everyone knows why veganism is great.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just, it's a defense mechanism. Yeah. But for me, preaching about it, that's not my style. It could work for, I believe there's enough space in this world for every kind of vegan. And there's enough people in this world to be able to choose a vegan that they can resonate with.
Yeah.
So what was your question about this?
No, I mean, like, cause have you met these creepy, crusader type vegans though?
I've seen them on the social media.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I think I know of them, but I haven't experienced it firsthand. I think because I try my best to be civil and I don't get into that conversation with them. I mean, we're on the same team. There's no reason for them to pick a fight with me.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So but I do hear stories and I do see a lot of trolling on the internet. And I think it's just, I mean, it could work if you're inclined to respond to that kind of thing. But yeah, most of us, we already know. I mean, it's pretty much out there. Yeah. And we don't need that kind of guilt tripping. If anything, it's just going to dig your heels closer into the sand and think, like how my husband told me that while he was a smoker, he would see those warning things on the cigarette packs saying that cigarette smoking causes cancer. He'll get so stressed out about it, he'll smoke double.
Oh, is that what happens?
Yeah, apparently it's like a psychological thing. Like if you're being told to not do something because it's bad for you and you're doing it. And
you do it even more, yeah.
And you do it even more because that's all you know.
I had some friends who were even worse. They would collect the different diseases on the packs. So you
oh
get
my
like,
God.
I know. So hey, I got this particular one. I'm gonna get this one, and then I have a set. I'm like, what is
Oh my
wrong
God.
with you, dude? That's not the point of why they put those pictures on their packaging.
Well, I guess that's looking for the good.
I know exactly. So I'm like, dude, this world has all kinds of people in it. You know what I mean? So yeah,
man.
but that was very scary for me. But
Oh.
I'm not saying like all vegans are the crusader type ones. You get crusader types everywhere for all types of subjects and everything, right? But
yeah. I mean, there's for every kind of cause out there, there will always be the, the person who's going to, who's a bit more extreme than the rest.
Yeah. But you want to, in a way, you are converting people, not trying to, but you are converting people just by the way you live your life, I suppose, because you look healthier.
Well, thank you. Well, it's not my intention it's not my job to convert people. Like I'm just doing, like, when I go eat out with people and they have the chicken cordon bleu in front of me, and they'll say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Like, it's not my problem what you eat. Like, I'm not offended at all. Like, I'm really happy with my, my vegan lasagna. Like, so I feel like regardless of whether I like to or not, just me being vegan without even saying anything makes me an activist.
Right, exactly.
And it just, if anyone wants to seek tips or advice and they ask me, they go out of their way to ask for tips and, encouragement, I will definitely come in and say, here are my pom-poms. I'm going to cheer you on. Right. And, but I'm not going to go out and say, everyone needs to do this. Right? Only if you want to, because I can't. I mean, I've been trying to get my mom to go plant-based for health, like, for God knows how long, but it's, in the end, you can't change everybody, and it's not my job. It's no one's job. The only person who will be able to change anybody is themselves. So if they're ready for it, then I will totally be there for you.
Because you said it's all about, I mean, you're super healthy, you're, for crying out loud, for anybody who doesn't remember, Davina was in the newspapers last night and in the news for like crazy for doing crazy swimming stunts, and also she actually went to a Shaolin temple to learn how to do kung fu. This woman can do it all, and she's a vegan. So if you're thinking she's not fit and everything, that's proof of it. So why, Davina, before you go, why should we all? And I know you're not big on the crusading thing, right? But why should we all opt for a vegan diet?
I think if you value your health, if you want to live a life of kindness, if you want to live a life that, you want to have I'll tell you why I do it. So I do it because I want to, if I can afford to live my optimal quality of life and do so while inflicting as little suffering as possible on the planet, while not contributing to a world with climate change that will affect future generations to come. And if I have children, I if I can live a life that doesn't burden them with diseases that could have been completely avoided on just because of the food that I chose, why not? And it's so accessible now. It's for me, at least, I found a way to make it affordable and accessible. It just makes sense, like it resonates completely with everything I want in this world. I want, I love the environment. I love animals. I value my health. I value my loved ones. I value my sanity and my health and my mental health, and just wanting to be free of guilt and clutter that, and wanting to connect with what it really means to be human. That's why I'm vegan. So it could really, why should people go vegan? I don't know. Well, to me, it just makes sense. If it makes sense to you, even a smidgen, I think that's a good path to start on.
That is brilliant. We're going to end on that note. That was absolutely brilliant. I'm really happy that we got to do this chat. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us.
Thank you too. I really appreciate it.
So what do you think about veganism? Would you get into it? Would you tell your friends about it? Would you try the zero chicken burger? Do comment below because we want to hear from you. But it's been great to have a chat and find out more about it. And I tell you what, who knows? I might be vegan as well soon. All right. Thank you for watching. And as usual, don't be a dick.